What if the most important exercise in your life isn't the one that burns the most calories, but the one that helps you stay independent? Think about that for a moment. Being able to get up from a chair without pushing yourself up with your hands, walking up a flight of stairs without stopping halfway, bending down to pick something up from the floor, carrying your groceries from the car into your kitchen, or simply catching yourself when you suddenly lose your balance. These may sound like ordinary things, but as the years pass, these everyday movements can become surprisingly difficult if we stop training the abilities behind them. And here's something important to understand. Getting older does not automatically mean becoming weak, stiff, or unsteady. But muscle strength, balance, coordination, flexibility, and the ability to produce force quickly can decline when we stop challenging our bodies. And the frustrating part is that this usually doesn't happen overnight. It can happen so gradually that you barely notice. One day, you stand up from your favorite chair and need to push off with your hands. A few months later, stairs feel more tiring than they used to. Then, you start avoiding certain movements because they don't feel as easy or as safe anymore. And slowly, your world can become a little smaller. That is exactly what we want to prevent, because these exercises are not about building a bodybuilder's physique. They are not about chasing a six-pack, lifting enormous weights, or trying to look 25 again. The real goal is much more valuable. The goal is to keep your body useful to you, useful enough to get out of a chair, useful enough to climb stairs, useful enough to carry your bags, useful enough to walk confidently and recover when you make an unexpected step. And in this video, we're going to focus on 5 simple movement patterns that target these abilities. You don't have to be extremely fit to begin. Each exercise can be modified depending on your current strength, balance, and mobility. And you don't need to wait until your body gives you a warning, because the best time to train a movement is not after you've lost the ability to do it. It's while you still can. So let's look at the 5 exercises that can help you protect your strength, mobility, balance, and independence as you get older. There's something about aging that many people don't realize until they experience it themselves. It isn't always about gaining weight. It isn't always about looking different in the mirror. Sometimes, the biggest change is much quieter. You simply stop being able to do certain things as easily as you used to. Maybe getting up from a low sofa takes more effort. Maybe climbing stairs leaves you feeling less confident. Maybe carrying 2 grocery bags at once suddenly feels like too much. And this is where strength becomes much more important than a number on the scale. Because muscle isn't just about how you look. Muscle is part of how you live. Functional strength is the strength you use in real life. It's what allows you to stand up, sit down, climb stairs, lift an object, carry groceries, and move your body through everyday situations. And here's something important. You don't have to look weak to have a weakness. Someone can have a relatively normal body weight and still have difficulty with certain movements because their muscles aren't producing the strength or control those movements require. Then there's another ability we often underestimate: balance. Being able to walk for 30 minutes is great, but what happens when you step off a curb and your foot lands differently than expected? What happens when you catch your shoe on a rug? Or when you turn around quickly because someone calls your name? In those moments, your body needs more than endurance. It needs coordination, stability, strength, and the ability to react quickly enough to keep you upright. And like strength, balance is something that benefits from practice. This is where the idea of use it or lose it becomes important. Your body adapts to what you regularly ask it to do. If you spend most of your day sitting, your body gets fewer opportunities to practice standing, stabilizing, producing force, and controlling movement. That doesn't mean decline is inevitable. And it certainly doesn't mean that getting older automatically makes you weak. It means that your body needs a reason to maintain these abilities, and regular physical activity can provide that reason. Think about someone we'll call David. David is 68 years old. He still walks around his neighborhood. He can drive, shop, and take care of most of his daily activities. So he assumes he's doing fine. But one evening, he sits down on a low sofa. When it's time to stand up, he pushes against the cushions, leans forward, and uses his hands to help himself up. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no injury, but that small moment tells him something important. His walking endurance may be okay, but one of his everyday movement abilities isn't as strong as it used to be. And if he starts avoiding low chairs, stairs, uneven ground, or activities that challenge him, his confidence may gradually shrink along with his physical ability. That's the part we want to interrupt. Because weakness can create hesitation. Hesitation can create inactivity. And inactivity can create even more weakness. But there's good news. You don't need an expensive gym membership or a complicated exercise program to start training these abilities. You can begin with simple movements that directly target the things you use every day. In the next few minutes, we're going to go through 5 foundational exercises designed around strength, balance, stepping ability, and movement control. And remember, you don't need to perform them perfectly on day 1. You simply need to start at a level your body can handle safely and build from there. Now let's get into the 5 exercises. And I want you to remember one thing as we go through them. These exercises are not about proving how strong you are. They're about preserving what your body needs to do for you every day. You can start easy, use support, and progress gradually. Exercise number 1. The chair sit to stand. If I could choose one movement that clearly represents everyday independence, this would be near the top of the list. The chair sit to stand trains your thighs, hips, and core while practicing a movement you perform countless times throughout life. Think about how often you stand up from a chair, getting off the sofa, standing from the toilet, getting out of a dining chair, even getting up after sitting on the edge of your bed. So here's how to do it. Start by sitting toward the front of a sturdy chair. Place both feet firmly on the floor, about hip-width apart. Lean your upper body slightly forward. Then press through your feet and stand up tall. Pause for a moment. Now slowly lower yourself back toward the chair. And here's the important part. Don't simply drop into the seat. Control the way down. That controlled lowering is part of the exercise. If this feels difficult, don't force it. You can use the armrests or lightly assist yourself with your hands. You can also start with a higher chair, because a higher seat usually makes the movement easier. As you become stronger, gradually reduce your dependence on your hands, increase your repetitions, or use a slightly lower chair. But always keep the chair stable. Don't use a lightweight chair that can slide backward. Remember, this may look like a very simple exercise, but every repetition is practicing something much bigger. You're practicing independence. Exercise number 2, calf raises. Next, let's move down to the lower legs. Calf raises are simple, but don't underestimate them. Your calf muscles help you push off the ground when you walk, move upstairs, and perform many everyday movements involving your feet and ankles. They can also give you an opportunity to practice controlled balance. Stand behind a sturdy chair or in front of a stable counter. Place your hands on the support lightly. Keep your body upright. Now slowly raise your heels so you're coming up onto the balls of your feet. Pause briefly at the top. Then lower your heels slowly back toward the floor. That's 1 repetition. The goal isn't to bounce up and down as quickly as possible. Avoid using momentum. Don't lean excessively forward. And don't simply let your heels crash back down. Think about lifting with control, pausing, and lowering with control. If you're a beginner, use the support as much as you need. As your strength and balance improve, you can gradually increase the number of repetitions or reduce how much you rely on your hands. But don't turn this into a race. Control matters more than speed. Exercise number 3, step-ups. Now we're going to practice something your body needs every time you climb stairs or step onto a curb. Step-ups. This exercise challenges the legs, while also asking your body to coordinate movement and maintain balance. For safety, start with a very low, stable step. If possible, position yourself near a secure railing or another sturdy support. Place 1 foot on the step. Press through that foot and bring your other foot up. Stand still. Then carefully step back down. Repeat on the other side when appropriate. The most important word here is control. Don't rush the movement. Don't jump onto the step. And don't use a step that is so high that you have to struggle or lose your balance. If you're new to this exercise, make the step very low. Use 1 hand for support if necessary, and perform only a few repetitions at first. Later, if the movement becomes easy and controlled, you can gradually increase the number of repetitions. You can also progress to a slightly higher step, but only when your current level feels stable, because there's no prize for using the highest step. The goal is stronger, safer movement. Exercise number 4, supported single leg balance. Now we're going to work on something that many people don't think about until their balance starts changing. Standing on one leg. Balance is a skill. And like many physical skills, it benefits from practice. Think about everyday situations where you briefly stand on one leg, stepping over something on the floor, walking across uneven ground, putting on a pair of pants, stepping off a curb, or suddenly shifting your weight because you lost your footing. Your body needs to stabilize itself. Here's a safe way to practice. Stand beside a sturdy counter or chair. Keep one hand close to the support. Shift your weight onto one leg. Then gently lift the opposite foot just slightly off the floor. You don't need to lift it high. Hold that position for a short period. Then place the foot back down and switch sides. If you can only hold the position for a few seconds, that's completely fine. In fact, that's where many people should begin. Over time, you can gradually increase the holding time or reduce how much you rely on the support. But please don't turn balance training into a test of bravery. Don't close your eyes. Don't stand somewhere unstable. And don't practice next to furniture that could tip over. If your balance is significantly impaired, or you've had falls, or feel unsafe standing on one leg, getting individualized guidance from a qualified healthcare or exercise professional is a much better approach. The goal isn't to prove that you can balance without help. The goal is to train your body so that you can move through daily life with more control and confidence. Now, knowing the 5 exercises is one thing. Actually, making them part of your life is another. And this is where many people go wrong. They start too hard, do too much, get sore or discouraged, and then stop. So, let's make this much simpler. Tip number 1, start. Easier than your ego wants. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to do too much too soon. Maybe you see someone doing 20 perfect repetitions and think, I should be able to do that too. But your starting point is your starting point. If you need to use your hands during a sit to stand, use them. If you need to hold the counter during a balance exercise, hold it. If you need a lower step, use a lower step. There is nothing impressive about struggling through an exercise with poor technique. Quality movement is more important than impressive numbers. Especially as you get older, consistency usually matters far more than trying to destroy yourself in one workout. Your goal isn't to win today's workout. Your goal is to keep showing up. Tip number 2. Use the control first rule. For most of these movements, slow and controlled is a better starting point than fast and careless. Don't bounce through calf raises. Don't drop into the chair. Don't rush your step-ups. And don't swing your body around just to complete another repetition. Instead, pay attention to the movement. Can you control the way up? Can you control the way down? Can you maintain your balance? Can you breathe normally? If you can, you're building something much more valuable than a high repetition count. You're building control. Tip number 3, create a simple weekly routine. You don't need to spend an hour in the gym. For many people, a practical starting point is to perform the strength-focused exercises around 2 to 3 days per week, while incorporating safe balance practice regularly. You can also continue walking and staying generally active throughout the week. For example, you might perform your 5 movements during a short session on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The exact schedule can vary. What matters is creating something realistic enough that you can actually repeat it, because the best routine isn't the one that looks impressive on paper. It's the one you still do 3 months from now. Tip number 4, progress. Gradually. Here's a simple progression system you can remember. First, learn the movement. Then improve your control. Then gradually increase your repetitions. After that, you can reduce how much assistance you need. And only then should you consider adding more difficulty. Don't change everything at once. If sit-to-stands become easier, maybe add a few repetitions. If your balance improves, perhaps rely slightly less on your hand. If step-ups feel comfortable, you can gradually increase the challenge. Small improvements add up. Tip number 5. Don't ignore pain or warning signs. There's an important difference between working your muscles and hurting yourself. You may feel that your muscles are working. You may feel some normal effort or fatigue. But sharp, severe, or worsening pain is not something you should simply push through. If an exercise feels unsafe, stop and reassess. And if you have significant health conditions, recently had surgery, have a major joint problem, or have serious balance difficulties, individualized guidance from an appropriate healthcare or exercise professional may be the safest way to begin. There is no shame in modifying an exercise. Modification is not failure. It's intelligent training. Tip number 6. Build a minimum routine you can actually remember. And if all of this feels like too much information, simplify it. Your basic routine can be built around 5 movements: chair sit to stands, calf raises, step-ups, supported balance, and either a standing hip hinge or glute bridges. That's it. You don't need dozens of exercises to start working on these fundamental abilities. And remember this: a short routine performed consistently is more valuable than a perfect routine that you never do. You are not training just for the gym. You're training for your life. You're training to stand up more confidently, to climb stairs, to carry your groceries, to move around your home safely, to stay active, and, perhaps most importantly, to keep as much independence as possible as the years go by. That's the real purpose behind these exercises. Not perfection, not competition, independence. So, let's come back to the bigger picture. These 5 exercises aren't magic. They're not a secret formula that can stop aging, and you don't need to perform them perfectly to benefit from moving more. What they do is something much more practical. They train 5 abilities that matter in everyday life. The chair sit to stand helps you practice standing strength. The calf raise works the lower legs and helps you practice controlled movement through your feet and ankles. The step-up trains the ability to step onto stairs and elevated surfaces. The supported single-leg balance gives you an opportunity to practice stability. And the hip hinge or glute bridge helps you develop better control and strength around your hips and lower body. Put those abilities together, and you're not simply exercising. You're practicing how to remain capable. Now, I want you to imagine yourself several years from now. Imagine getting out of your favorite chair without hesitation, carrying your own groceries, walking up a flight of stairs with confidence, taking a trip without constantly worrying about whether your body can handle it, playing with your grandchildren, getting around your home independently. Those moments may seem ordinary today, but they're exactly the moments that make independence meaningful. And that's why you don't have to wait until something becomes difficult before you start training it. The best time to preserve your strength is before you desperately need it. Getting older doesn't mean you should stop challenging your body. It means you should challenge it intelligently. Start at your current level. Use support when you need it. Focus on control. Progress gradually. And most importantly, stay consistent. Because your future body is built, in part, by what you choose to practice today. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 exercises feels easiest for you, and which one feels the hardest? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you're comfortable sharing, tell us your age and the physical ability you're most determined to maintain. Your answer might help someone else realize they're not alone. If this video gave you a practical way to think about healthy aging, subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based guidance on strength, mobility, balance, and staying active as you get older. And consider sharing this video with someone you care about, a spouse, parent, sibling, friend, or anyone who wants to stay independent for as long as possible. Because exercise isn't only about adding years to your life, it's about protecting the ability to live those years the way you want. Don't exercise only to live longer. Exercise so that, as you grow older, you can keep living the life you actually want.